When you are doing an audio and video podcast, most people start with Zoom because Zoom records the audio and it records the video. And depending on what Zoom you're using, you can download the video as an MP4 file and then throw that on YouTube, and you can download the audio as an MP3 file. Great. That is a really, really good place to start. But Zoom is not very high quality when it comes to audio or video. Podcast Growth Nation, welcome back to another episode of Podcast Growth University, where we talk all things podcasting all the time. I hope you enjoyed the latest episode number 46. You need to understand the difference between marketing and sales. I actually talked about that on a podcast today when I was being interviewed. Today, for episode number 47, a simple way to record higher quality video. Okay. I'm actually doing this right now. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you should see a little bit of a difference. Even the last two episodes, I was testing this out based on advice from AA, our wonderful video editor. Okay. So the most common thing that I see for people is when they are recording podcast episodes, they're doing it on Zoom. Now, I have a lot of my clients that use Zoom just because they are not super technologically advanced. They might not have a great camera, so it doesn't matter all that much. There's a lot going on. Now, when you're thinking of where you want to record your video and your audio, I'm balancing a couple things. I'm balancing the level of quality as well as the level of ease. So for new clients who don't understand technology that much, I'm probably not going to push them to do what we're going to talk about today. I just want them to get the ball rolling, and I want them to build momentum. When somebody comes to me and says, hey, I want this to be the highest quality humanly possible, what do? I'll send them, this is the new microphone you should get. This is the new camera you should get. Here's the capture card, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot. Here's lighting, backdrops, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. But for the purposes of this episode, this is what we're going to talk about today. When you are doing an audio and video podcast, most people start with Zoom because Zoom records the audio and it records the video, and depending on what Zoom you're using, you can download the video as an MP4 file and then throw that on YouTube, and you can download the audio as an MP3 file. Great. That is a really, really good place to start, but Zoom is not very high quality when it comes to audio or video, okay? It's just not that high of quality. Even if you have a really good camera like I do, it doesn't really matter because Zoom's going to dumb down the quality when you export it. So there's a couple different options, right? There's StreamYard, there's Riverside, there's Restream, there's a bunch of other things you can try. I haven't tried, I've been interviewed on Skype, I've been interviewed on the Google, whatever the Google one is, I've been interviewed on all those, but we've been using StreamYard, and I'm a huge fan of StreamYard. Now, here's the issue. If you have a weak internet connection, if you travel often, if you cannot hardwire directly into your modem, Zoom is probably going to be the best bet if you're doing interviews, okay? So a lot of my clients, they'll do their solo episodes in Zoom as well because it's just easier for them to do that rather than running multiple programs. So today we're going to talk, I just want to clarify before I go off here. We're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about solo episodes and we'll talk about guest episodes. For the purposes of guest episodes, you really are limited to either in-person or some sort of streaming platform. Anytime we're talking about a streaming platform, I always talk about StreamYard. I think StreamYard, I don't get paid to say any of this. We've just used it for the last, 800 episodes. Never had a problem, but it does require a strong internet connection for both sides. So I am always hardwired when I am using StreamYard, where you don't really have to be hardwired if you're using Zoom, because Zoom doesn't require that high of bandwidth. Again, there is Restream, there is Riverside FM. Those are all very similar to StreamYard. What I really want to talk about is when you're doing solo episodes, because this is where things can get a little bit complicated. For many of us, when we think solo episode, we think, okay, I'll just hop on Zoom or I'll hop on StreamYard or I'll hop on Riverside and I'll just do a full screen version of myself and cool, we're off to the races. What I think is better for you, potentially, it's a good test for you to record higher quality video and audio, is use the camera that is native to your laptop. Now, all that means is this. I have an external webcam that I'm using. I have a capture card, and there's a lot that goes into that. You might not be doing that. But let's just say this. Say you have a new Mac. New Macs tend to have really good cameras. And you have a microphone that's a USB mic that plugs right into your laptop. Awesome. If you go into your camera app, I think it is, I don't know what it is considered on Mac. I don't remember the phrase. It's like, I don't know. Whatever the video recorder is on Mac. I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head. I just type camera on my Windows PC, and the camera comes up. And I switch it over to video, and I can record video natively to my laptop. So it doesn't matter if I have Wi-Fi connection. It doesn't matter if my Wi-Fi connection is strong. It also will record my audio in that video. Now, I go an extra step, and I record my audio separately in a free program called Audacity. So you can do that. You can record video in one place, in audio in another, depending on your laptop, depending on your setup. That is what I would suggest to everybody who's doing solo episodes. If you are doing solo episodes, I would test this out. And the best way to test it out is this. Plug your microphone in. Again, if it's a USB mic, plug it in. Get your camera set up if you have an external camera. If not, no worries. Use the camera you have on your laptop because, again, if anything, this quality should be better. Open up whatever your camera app is where you can take video. And then hit record and test it. See if it's recording your audio, which it will be. It's just a matter of whether or not it's recording it through your mic. Now, here's where things get wonky. Mine is set right now to automatically do that. Full disclosure, I don't remember how I did that. It's probably somewhere in your sound settings, or it might just default to it based on the fact that I've been doing it for so long. So I cannot necessarily advise here. I mean, I could help you troubleshoot behind the scenes, but there's got to be some setting where you go where it determines what microphone you use. Now, you can do that when you're in your camera app. When you go into the camera app, there should be some sort of settings button, and that'll take you where you need to go. But go into your video program, whatever you're going to record your video in, and hit record, and see if it's recording your audio too. And see the difference between the native video and then compare that to what you've been doing on Zoom or whatever else it is.
Hey, I wanted to give my experience working with Kevin and the rest of the Next Level University team. It has been such a seamless relationship. He is so easy to work with, Kevin, and he gives you all the information you need, but doesn't overwhelm you. He's also meets you where you're at. So whatever you want to do, he'll make it work. And it's just, there's no stress, there's no drama. And everybody else that I've worked with has been patient with me because I am not technologically savvy. So they've been helpful and patient and just encouraging. And it's just been a fantastic experience. I highly, highly recommend working with them.
So I've noticed a drastic difference between this that I'm recording right now natively to my laptop through my webcam and what I have been doing in the past on StreamYard. I've noticed a drastic difference. Now, again, StreamYard is great, but anytime there's internet involved, it's not necessarily going to be as good as it would be if you just did it natively. Here's the other thing, too. If you want to do that and you say, you know what, Kev, I can't because for some reason I don't know how to set my audio up. My audio's not working in my video. If you have the capabilities, you can record your audio separately in Audacity or Audition or something else, whatever you want to use, and then you can just sync them in post-production. And then you'll have the best video quality possible and the best audio quality possible because you're not relying on the internet. So let me just recap because I know that can get confusing. If you are planning on doing a solo episode, I want you to prep like you would for any other episode, except instead of opening Zoom or anything on the internet, I want you to open up your video recorder on your laptop. I want you to hit record, and I want you to test to see if it picks up your audio and your video, and then see what it sounds like. I'm guessing 9 times out of 10, it's going to be better than you recording to Zoom, to StreamYard, to any platform, because it's not reliant upon your internet, okay? Now, if you're going to do, that's for solos. Anytime we're doing guest interviews, we're going to have to figure out it's either in person or it's going to have to be whatever the highest quality we can get over the internet is, which is going to be StreamYard, Riverside FM, Restream, something like that. The downside of those is they're more expensive. So I think StreamYard's $49 a month and you pay annually, so $50 times 12, what's that? $515, something like that. So that can get expensive, right? Especially if you're doing that one time. Whereas Zoom, I think $16 a month. So it's a little bit cheaper, a lot cheaper. So depending on where you are, don't feel bad if you aren't ready to throw a bunch of money at StreamYard or whatever else, those other programs. The real goal for me in this episode is, number one, most people should probably be doing more solo episodes than they're doing anyway, just because if you're trying to position yourself as an expert, one of the best ways to do that is to do your own show and go on other shows. And I feel like we just kind of fall into, and again, I've been doing this how long, and I was doing the same thing, where I just opened StreamYard and said, all right, I'm going to do a solo episode. Let me do it. And then AA said, hey, why don't you just record natively? It's like, oh, interesting. I've done that in the past, but I just forgot. I didn't think about it. So hopefully this will be something that can kind of raise your awareness to that. Maybe you're already doing this. If so, you're ahead of the curve for sure. If you're not doing it, it's a good opportunity to try. At the end of the day, for many of us, it's not feasible to get the camera that I have. It's a Sony a7 III. It's an expensive camera. I don't know how much it is. Probably maybe $1,500. That adds up, right? Not everybody's going to go out and buy that level of camera. It's a lot of money. I have a lot of other equipment that I use that not everybody's going to buy because not everybody should. Full disclosure. But if you can improve based on what you already have, if we can get the maximum results out of what you currently have, that's a great position to be in, and there's no shame in trying to get to that level. So I'm not saying this is going to change everything overnight. What I am saying is your audio quality will be as close to perfect as possible because there's no internet lag. There's nothing happening when it goes up to the internet, and your video is going to be as good as your camera will allow because you're not going to be on Zoom or whatever it is. There's no internet. We're taking the internet out for our solo episodes. Our guest episodes, the one thing to do is up level to a new platform or get a new camera. Again, not necessarily likely for many of us. Maybe it's not realistic right now, whatever it may be. I am using this hack. I wanted to share this hack with you. Hopefully this is a hack to you and it's not something that you've known because I want to make sure this is valuable. But I know I've talked to many clients about this and most of them have never heard of this. And again, AA said it to me and it raised my awareness. So the goal is to share that with all of you. If you have any questions on this, again, I know there's a lot of specifics, right? My laptop's probably like 5 years old. A lot has changed. My microphone and everything's very new, so I'm fairly certain with that. But who knows, right? This episode in 5 years is going to be ancient. And there will be, who knows what's going to be happening in 5 years. You might be watching this podcast in my room in some weird virtual reality. Who knows? So maybe there's stuff I didn't touch on specifically to you and your setup. Please reach out. I'm happy, again, as always, to do a free podcast breakthrough session. For some people, that's helping them set up their equipment. For other people, it's helping them name their podcast. Whatever it is, whatever we can get through in a half hour. And honestly, if I don't have a call right after that, we usually end up going more than a half hour. So link will be in the show notes. Please book if you are interested. Next week for episode number 48, I probably, full disclosure, should have done this episode sooner. I just got so excited to talk about the logistics and the ins and outs of podcasting that I didn't. I should have. Getting over making mistakes and the fear of judgment that comes with it. I had an episode very early in where I made a giant mistake and I lost the entire episode and I almost quit. This was 13 episodes in, I think. I wanted to quit. And luckily I didn't. I kept going, but I remember that feeling and I remember how bad I felt. And I've made so many mistakes. I pronounced people's names wrong. I forgot my questions. That's the human side of this, where if I told you every time I get on here, I feel perfect and I know exactly what I'm going to say and I pronounce everything right. If you've listened to this podcast, you have heard me blank. You have heard me mispronounce things. It is what it is. So we're going to talk about that in episode number 48. Again, if you need any help on what I talked about today, I know it can be a lot, especially if you're a newer podcaster and you're just trying to figure it out. Please do not hesitate to reach out. As always, I appreciate you all. I love you all. We are coming up on a year's worth of episodes. I don't know what I'll do for episode number 52 yet, but I am very, very excited to get there. Thank you all. I will talk to you next week, and keep on crushing it.